Kenny vs. Spenny is a classic television series about two best friends who compete in absurd challenges. Glory for the winner, humiliation for the loser. The 2002 TV series was a unique blend of scripted television and raw, unfiltered madness. Kenny Hodge and Spencer Rice are lifelong friends with polar opposite personalities. Kenny is the narcissistic egomaniac who always finds a loophole during competitions, while Spenny is the self-righteous prick who constantly follows the rules. They synergetically feed off each other's insanity to create comedic masterpieces. One of their most memorable episodes was called Who Could Wear a Dead Octopus on Their Head the Longest. It was a sunny day, we had just ditched school. Bong rips everywhere. We're at my friend's house. He puts this episode on, and let me tell you something. We witnessed something so funny, I damn near coughed up a lung from laughing so hard. This episode derailed into the movie Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. Kenny had given Spenny a hot dose of LSD to get an upper hand during the competition. Spenny lost his grip in reality while Kenny took him down a rabbit hole of terror and confusion. Spenny was horrified, filled with joy, and started to lose his mind. Kenny vs. Spenny received a major criticism for its graphic nature, unfiltered comedy, and degenerate content. The show had 6 seasons with a total of 88 episodes. Spenny would end up losing most of the competitions with a total of 59 losses to Kenny's 21 losses. The moralist versus degenerate, good versus evil, I don't care versus I care. This dynamic made for great competition. This polarity created a comedy duo that hasn't been recreated since. Each episode revolved around a challenge where both parties had to compete for victory. In season 1, episode 9, producers realized it was more funny to torture Spenny instead of having a fair competition. Kenny was the puppet master who cheated his way to victory while torturing Spenny in the process. In this episode, Spenny was blindfolded for several days while Kenny pranked him non-stop. Spenny lost and was forced to endure Kenny's radioactive breath for 60 seconds. These humiliations were over the top, disgusting, and degrading. Spenny would endure a total of 59 humiliations ranging from eating sushi off Kenny's ass, having his genitals covered with bees, and was given an atomic wedgie. Kenny vs. Spenny spawned a cult fanbase that allowed them to sell out tours 20 years after the show's final episode aired on TV. This didn't come without several controversies, breakups, and problems with alcohol abuse. After the show ended, both of them parted ways and their lives were never the same. Kenny had a few successful solo projects while Spenny was struggling to make ends meet. Although they took much needed time apart, unusual circumstances brought them back together in ways nobody expected. We're gonna uncover the madness behind Kenny vs. Spenny and see if they still remain friends to this day. Cheers. Their love-hate relationship began at a young age because their fathers attended university together. At one point, Spencer even babysat Kenny because he was 4 years older than him. When Spencer graduated high school, all of his friends became hyper-fixated on getting into college. He was more interested in filmmaking, which was why he attended film school in Toronto. Spencer became close with Kenny and his friends, even though they were much younger. It's because they shared a common interest in movies, comedy, and music. Kenny was a local pot dealer who decided to quit after Spencer convinced him to pursue his passion for filmmaking. Not too long after, Spencer and Kenny collaborated on a 1994 documentary called It Don't Cost Nothing to Say Good Morning. They followed a homeless dwarf over a period of 3 years to capture his day-to-day life. Shorty Gordy was a local celebrity who lived on the streets of Toronto that wanted to spread his message of love and kindness. This short documentary was aired at several film festivals and received numerous awards. I forgot to mention, for a short period of time, Kenny was a journalist during the Gulf War who used his passion for photography to cover the brutal realities of war. He was the only Canadian to cover the Gulf War boots on the ground. In 1993, Spencer had made a short documentary called Telehorror about a phone sex girl. Although Spencer and Kenny had polar opposite personalities, they enjoyed working together on their documentary, so they decided to make a movie called The Dawn. After finishing the script, they bought a telephone book and started cold calling famous celebrities, producers, and Hollywood executives. They kept getting rejected, so they decided to document the process of them trying to sell their script to Hollywood. It was hilarious, unique, never seen anything like this. Pitch was their first full-length film about their overzealous attempts at selling The Dawn. It was a movie about a mob boss who had an accidental sex change and has to manage his crew with a feminine demeanor. This documentary shows them cold approaching key Hollywood players like Roger Ebert and Al Pacino, who miraculously took the script.
Alan, independent film, one quick question.
Yes, sir.
Will you actually read this mob comedy? We gotta roll it for you. Thank you very much. Love your work.
He took the script. Al Pacino took our script.
The movie was never made and the documentary flopped, but on the bright side, they received enough clout to write an episode of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Because of their on-screen chemistry, they caught the attention of Will Smith's production company, who offered them a deal to make a TV show. In 1999, Spencer and Kenny moved to Los Angeles, where they received a $10,000 development deal, but Spencer lost all of his money in Vegas. The show was cancelled before they had a chance to film the pilot episode, but ended up getting lucky after the USA Network picked up their show. While they were filming the pilot episode, the network pulled the plug because they weren't weren't listening to their recommendations. Executives wanted them to do a spy versus spy series, which basically involves one-upping each other, but their vision was so unique and different they had to follow their passions. Spencer and Kenny decided to finish filming, which would later pay off because CBC picked up their show. By 2001, they received funding and were given a 26-episode deal for season 1, releasing episodes like Who Can Stay Awake the Longest, where Kenny drank coffee and watched Korn, while Spenny stayed awake for 80 hours straight with no caffeine. He eventually lost and had to be Kenny's bathroom attendant for his humiliation. Episodes like Who Can Stand Up the Longest, Who's the Strongest, and Who's the Most Convincing Woman were relatively harmless challenges. Season 1 was more lighthearted because they were limited to the rules of the Canadian Broadcasting Channel. They were eventually cancelled because their humiliation segments aired right before the national news. For about a year, they were wandering around Los Angeles working odd jobs trying to make money. Eventually, Showcase bought their TV show, giving them creative freedom and the ability to wreak havoc on set. Season 2 is the official beginning of Kenny vs. Spenny Uncensored. Who Can Drink More Beer is an iconic episode which involved Spenny getting blackout drunk, violent, and angry at Kenny. He was fed up with being the punching bag and had an emotional breakdown. He still lost because, surprise surprise, Kenny cheated by drinking non-alcoholic beer. This episode highlighted Spenny's problem with alcohol. At one point, he admitted that he used to drive around town with a bottle of vodka. Spencer's alcoholism got so bad that he ruined the possibility of becoming a writer on South Park. Apparently, Kenny and Spenny went to a restaurant with Matt Stone and Trey Parker when Spenny got blackout drunk to the point of being kicked out of the bar.
But we met Matt and Trey the first time, and we went out with them one night. Spenny got so f***ed up. He basically got thrown out of the restaurant we were in and ended up in a bus shelter, like, yeah, like it's sad and crazy. Like he's a real addict. He's a really up, dark, broken person. But it takes a person like that to, you know, make a show like Kenny vs. Spenny. That's why it's so unique, because it's actually real and we're not actors.
The night was ruined and South Park creators only wanted to work with Kenny from that point on. By season 3, the duo had perfected their formula. Direct competition, except Kenny was allowed to cheat and use crew members, Spenny's relatives, and random people to torment Spenny. In the episode Who Can Stay Homeless the Longest, Kenny baited Spenny into punching him in the arm in front of police by calling him a crack addict. He was arrested and Kenny won the competition. The Notorious Octopus episode highlighted Kenny's ability to manipulate the odds in his favor. Kenny took off the octopus and chopped off the tentacles to attach it to his hat, giving the illusion that he was still wearing it. He then gave Spenny 4 tabs of acid to trick him into taking off the octopus.
I feel totally weird right now. Can somebody see if the octopus ink, maybe it sucked through my brain?
Long exposure of an octopus touching skin can create weird,
Whoa!
paralysis, hallucinations somewhat in the same vein as LSD. Once you feel the paralysis, you should actually remove the octopus from the skin. You could actually be paralyzed.
It was one of those episodes that made you appreciate Spenny's ability to not crash out and kill Kenny. By season 6, Kenny was the puppet master and Spenny was his guinea pig. Spenny lost most of the competitions and was tormented nearly every episode. The show aired up until 2010 with one Christmas special to conclude the series. Both parties were eager to venture solo but weren't expecting such a dramatic breakup. After the show ended, Spenny enjoyed the freedom of not having to be the punching bag. This freedom would be ruined after a brutal 2011 divorce that left him paying child support in the tens of thousands of dollars. They both decided to part ways and focus on solo projects. Kenny Hotz's Triumph of the Will was a social experiment about socially immoral subjects and thought-provoking takes. Single White Spenny was a poorly acted TV sitcom about Spenny living as a single man. He also directed a TV series called X-Rated about a porn star who tried to break the sex world record. It was too degenerate for TV and only aired once before being scrapped. In 2012, Kenny made the wise decision to upload Kenny vs. Spenny episodes on YouTube, which slowly grew their fanbase to unimaginable numbers. Kenny made a few appearances in movies and returned as a writer for one episode of South Park. Fun fact, Kenny co-directed the music video for one of Deadmau5's hit songs, Monophobia. This makes a lot of sense because the visuals are outlandishly creative and unorthodox. Spenny, on the other hand, would go to random bars to play blues music whenever the opportunity presented itself. He plays the guitar very well and is an exceptional singer. In 2016, Kenny was able to host a Vice documentary where he surveyed the political climate in Florida during Trump's infamous Make America Great Again campaign, Kenny went to a nudist beach to ask beachgoers their opinion on Trump. Later in the documentary, he almost got jumped by angry Marco Rubio supporters and was nearly arrested by law enforcement. Since Spenny's money was drying up because of the divorce, he convinced Kenny to do live shows across Canada. These live shows were pretty disgusting. Spenny would give live prostate exams to spread cancer awareness. Disgusting, yes. Hilarious, no. Their live shows consisted of reacting to old episodes, stand-up comedy, and fans trolling Spenny for not paying back an old investor. Spenny took a $10,000 loan from David Wolfish to fund their pitch documentary. Since then, Spenny has refused to pay him back because the movie didn't make any money. A recurring joke that still pushes his buttons to this day.
Take that question off, John. Give him his money back. I've answered it too many fucking times.
Why won't you pay back? If you won $1 million, would you pay back Wolfish?
No.
10 million.
No, 100 million, $1 billion, $1 trillion. Why does
Why would
Spencer
you pay
hate
the guy
puppies?
back if you had $1 trillion?
I don't hate puppies. I hate my puppy until he becomes a little more mature.
By 2020, Spenny had lost most of his money from the show to a Ponzi scheme.
First of all, I worked for 20 years and I saved up all of my money. I never spent a penny. He lost all of his money in this horrible divorce and then I begged him. I said, he had some stupid scumbag friend who had this Ponzi scheme and he gave everything, hundreds of thousands of dollars to his friend and he lost everything. I begged him not to do it. I said, give me $20K and buy this building with me, and you wouldn't even do that. You wouldn't even do that, and look, you lost all of your money, and every time you don't listen to me, you get screwed. I've been protecting you my entire life, and you keep...
You don't have to say entire life. Just say my life.
My life.
Your life is entire. So he's got a property. I don't have a property. I've got a house that I live in. I'm very happy.
Are you?
Yes. No.
And not only that, he lost his driver's license and passport because he failed to make child support payments. During 2020, the duo reunited to film a show called Pandemic. The whole episode was Kenny roasting Spenny for making poor life decisions.
He has no source of income. I started this whole tour. You have no income. I'm his only source of income. The only other thing he was doing is running around to all these shitty bars all over the country playing blues music.
No, blues, classic rock and country. I like working with you, don't get me wrong. I'm not even...
because he get paid. I'm totally paying him.
You're not paying him. I own a fucking third of this.
Yeah,
he's
because
delusional.
You should know the third of it. He has no reason to own a third of this.
We were on the
my
road.
show. I totally created this show. It's Pandemic. It's my concept. I wrote everything out. He had nothing to do with it. I've been working every day for months. He basically did a spell check on my paperwork and then just showed up. He's done no work and he's basically getting paid what I am.
I'm giving prostate exams on stage with audience members. He doesn't ever do that. Is that not worth something? Is that not bringing something to the partnership?
The show's contract explicitly stated that Spenny wasn't allowed to consume drugs or alcohol during filming.
He is drinking. He is a drug addict. In our contract,
Kenny, come on, man.
In our contract, it says that he's not allowed to do drugs or drink alcohol. That's all he's being.
It is not. He's lying.
Are you on antidepressants?
Well, yeah, that's true, but it's not in our contract.
Are you drinking on antidepressants?
Kenny, off.
Are you drinking on antidepressants? Tell the truth.
Yes.
He ended up eating toilet paper, chugging hand sanitizer, doing a cringy stand-up special, and committed lewd acts with the toilet plunger. I'm not even kidding. After Spenny finally got his passport back, they were able to tour once again. Kenny would verbally abuse Spenny on stage, but strangely enough, he liked it.
He wants me to abuse him because if I don't, he can't make any money. And the audience will only pay to see him.
In misery.
To see me abuse him. Yeah. So he basically goes on stage and talks about what an asshole I am or what a scumbag, when the reality is he's actually begged me to go back on tour and do this to him. So it's really slimy on his part to kind of milk that I'm a scumbag. When I'm basically just doing everything in my power to save his family, from being homeless.
2 of the 4 sold-out shows were ruined by Spenny's belligerent drunkenness.
Spenny gets so blind wasted that he basically ruins the meet and greet with the fans. like Bukowski wasted. Like blind like ambulance wasted. When you go out and you're on tour and you're trying to be professional and the guy drinks a bottle of scotch before he goes on stage, yeah, I'd like to abuse him when I'm on stage. It turns out that it's organic and it kind of, you know, some fans like it, some fans just think it's sad and will never come back. But at least it's different.
Their love-hate relationship allowed the audience to relive the glory days of Kenny versus Spenny, happy versus unhappy, the carefree comedian versus pessimistic downer. The audience loved it, and Spenny hated them for it.
I tap into my dislike of a lot of them for being fans of Kenny, and they channel Kenny and they abuse me. I also tap into the horror that I have that Kenny is so popular and more popular than I am, because his jokes are so juvenile. So I abuse the audience for that too. They love it. They love it when I'm an asshole to them. I say I hate them. I hate my life. I hate this act. I'm only doing it for money. You know, I'm basically being honest, but it works.
Spenny understands that he's the hated one because he takes everything way too seriously. That's part of his act, and he fully embraces it. The tour documentary shows deep insight into their comedy act. Kenny is a comedic goofball who uses dark humor to make the crowd laugh, while Spenny berates them for laughing at middle school jokes. The dynamic works well and fans enjoy the toxic relationship. Not only that, they're able to joke about anything without fear of being cancelled because they have a core fan base that appreciates their unfiltered comedy. Their abrasive attitudes combined with toxic friendship is the reason why Kenny vs. Spenny was so successful. It withstood the test of time because they weren't faking anything. Kenny hired close friends to help him film the show, which added another layer of uniqueness because each episode felt like a group of friends having a good time. Kenny was trying to make his camera crew laugh to see if audiences would enjoy his comedy. Spenny was focused on following the rules, being morally upright, and trying to win fair and square. Kenny was dedicated to making the show funny, cheating, and not being humiliated. Their polar opposite personalities created one of the best comedy duos of all time. It was like watching a live-action Tom and Jerry series. In the age of wokeism, this show was far ahead of its time, pushing boundaries most people wouldn't dare think of crossing. They've accepted that they will never outperform the success of Kenny vs. Spenny. To this day, they're still milking the show's success 20 years after the final episode was released. They're still doing podcasts, arguing over Twitter, and going on tours together. No matter how much they hate each other, Kenny vs. Spenny will always be remembered for their unique relationship and dedication to making people laugh. If you enjoyed this video, leave a like and comment your favorite episode down below. I know you've seen the show. It's unique, funny, and degenerate, but in a good way. I'll see you all in the next one. Hey!